Welcome to Moving Iron with Casey Seymour and Greg Peterson, the podcast for anyone and everyone involved and interested in the business of ag equipment. If you want to understand what trends and market forces are impacting the price of your iron, you've come to the right place. Buckle up, it's time to move some iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by John Deere. We've got Sherry Pete back on here to talk about what's going on in the marketplace. So Greg, we've seen some pretty decent sales here. Over this last really 7-day period, we've seen 4 pretty decent sales. We had obviously Alex Kerr's auction that we've been talking about here for a while. Merit Auction had an H&R sale that they ran through. Purple Wave had a pretty decent sale come through, and then we had a sell up in Canada with some combine and stuff on there. We're trying to get those numbers. We haven't seen those results yet, but this is very indicative of this time of the year, right? You see a lot of these bigger equipment sales, especially on the dealer side, start to trickle through the pre-harvest approach that a lot of guys take to come in there. So I guess you're looking at the results that you've seen so far. What's your thoughts so far?
Well, it was an interesting week. Casey, I saw some kind of mixed results. And like you say, you get into late July, into August, our data, auction price data, is sort of always shown it's a really good time to be a buyer, I think. Because there's just you don't know how yields are going to come out. I know there's a lot of talk now with the corn crop, with a particular situation happening there, and of course, price of corn dropped the other day. Doesn't help matters when you're trying to sell. No. But if we talk the sale last Wednesday, would have been July 23rd. Our friends at Merit Auction had for H&R AgriPower and Truland equipment. I thought some pretty good prices there. On the combine side, they sold a 22 model S780, 428 engine hours, went for $342,500. It came out of Swayze, Indiana, so good farmland there. And for comparison, the average auction price going in to that sale on a 22 model S780 was just over $299,000. So again, 428 engine hours did $342,500. The highest I'd seen this year on a 22 model S780 was $350. So again, Zach and the guys at $342,500. On the red side, they had a 22 model 8250 Case IH. A few more hours on it, 681 engine. That did $282,500. Came out of Poseyville, Indiana. And again, for perspective, going in to the auction, the average price this year on an 8250 was $263 and change. So again, they hit $282,500. So that was last Wednesday. You mentioned Purple Wave. They had a sale the same day, July 23rd. More confirmation on the loader tractor strength. Of course, you're just getting into this dichotomy of farmer checkbooks out there, livestock versus grain. They had it was a loader tractor, very late model, 24 model Deere 6R145, only had 55 hours on it, so obviously like new. Came out of Texas, so the deep south, but it brought $174,900. Highest auction price I had seen coming in on a 6R145 was $155,000 out of Nebraska last year. So I thought that was strong.
Hey, on that one, Greg, what was the hours on the highest one that you saw? Of the 155.
The 155, that was, I'm trying to sign my note here. It was a year ago. It was June 18th of 24, Wayne, Nebraska. I did not jot down the number of hours on it. It was more than 55. So again, it was like a new tractor that Purple Wave sold.
Yeah.
But again, the combination of it, historically, things coming out of the deep south in Texas versus a Midwest price, there was a little difference there. Yeah. Last 5 years since COVID, that's kind of been and then again, you drift into livestock sector now, and there's just strength there. So that was Purple Wave. Now, as we're recording this yesterday, I was at Alex Kerr's auction in kind of West Central Illinois. Very great event. I thought Casey had kind of in kind of a descriptive way encapsulated the split that we're seeing in the market right now. So on the one hand, he had a great farmer line. Nothing really new on that farmer line, retirement line, but nice stuff. And he had a pair of 4440s. One brought $40,000. Mm-hmm. The other pushing 10,000 hours, brought 25.5. Went down the line. He had I always like versatile tractors. He had a 976. It was not.
I saw that on your Facebook post. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but it was solid. and intense bidding on that. That got up to 22.5. But then there also were 8R tractors. Now they had come up a little bit out of the south, so which is very common for dealer consignment sales. But some good buys there. I thought there was a 24 model 8R 410 that went for 280. So that was a good buy. Right next to it, they had a 23 model 8R 370, 739 hours on it. And I had looked at our numbers in the morning. And it was interesting. Last year, Casey, we saw 29 23 model 8R 370 sold at auction through the whole year. Coming into yesterday, I'd only seen 6 23 model 8R 370. So that's that pullback on the dealer side, taking a breath that we have talked about numerous times. But the one yesterday, 739 hours, it went with the bidding fee, it got up to 333.5. And coming in, the average on the 6 I'd seen so far this year was just over 340. So it got up close. But again, I thought, like we've talked on the farmer side, the midsummer, late summer, early fall, when you don't know how things are going to come out, to me has always been, if you're able, really a unique opportunity to be an aggressive buyer of late model equipment, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing how that switches. We've you and I both have watched these auctions over the years, and I remember watching that South Fork custom cutter liquidation sale they had. I don't know, it's been almost 10 years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
But that was where, you watched the market was really soft. And that one particular day, you saw rain get to the right spot. The price of corn jumped up about 3 or 4 days before that. And it kind of stayed there. And, there was selling opportunity for, actually that was the high for that particular year.
Right.
The corn price was. So people took advantage of that. And you saw some extraordinary values for that particular year of selling comparatively to everything else around it. Nothing was better than that for the rest of the year.
That South Fork sale by Sullivan Auctioneers, I think you're right, like 10 years ago. All the auctions I've ever covered, that was one of the most amazing ones because, like you say, the conditions were not positive at all until the rain and the bump price of corn. So, you plan these auctions out. You've been doing this for 35 years. You can't control. There's nothing you can control. Will it rain? Is it going to be cold? Snow? Does the price of corn drop? Does it go up? If you boil it down, the market is never wrong. It just tells us that day in that area. And that's why with our auction price data, we've always put the specific day and the specific location and the type of auction on every piece of equipment. So you can kind of triangulate, corn had dropped that week, or beans went up, cattle dropped, whatever. It's the brutal honesty of the auction market.
Yeah. And that's it's that moment in time, right? That's what that is. You get a snapshot of what something's worth that particular day, that particular time, based around the conditions that are in place at that particular moment, right? And it's not like, that's the thing about the auction team, because it's selling that day. Whatever it is, right? Unless they have reserves set on it or something like that.
Right. It was interesting. It was interesting on the Kerr auction yesterday on the farm retirement line. Let's see, the guy's name was Todd Cook, super nice guy. And, he's a little bit younger than I am, in mid-50s, but just kind of retiring. And the 24440s, his dad and his uncle bought them. And they had the one pushing 10,000 hours, one owner. And then his uncle literally won the lottery in Illinois. And as part of his...
Like the Powerball lottery? Like something like that?
He won the lottery.
Wow.
I don't know. I didn't ask how much. I'm a Minnesota boy. That's impolite. But so he, okay, well, dude, what are you going to do with your lottery winnings? He wanted another 4440. That was, so he bought it.
Solid tractor.
Bought the lowest powered one. No, he actually bought 2 of them, he said. Todd was telling me. And one of them had 1,000 hours when he bought it. So this was back a number of years ago. And I did pry a little, and I said, what'd you pay for that one with 1,000 hours? And I think he said like 40,000. And my eyes, I said, what that'd be worth now? And the other one he purchased, sold on the auction now, 3,662 hours, and it brought 40.
Yeah.
So it's just like you say, timing, whether it's a older tractor or a 1-year-old combine, whatever. It's again, that's auction will capture how people are feeling that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it changed. I mean, those feelings fluctuate, when the market starts to slide, you feel that immediately at the auction market. It takes some people time to get their head wrapped around what's going on around them. Like when they go back into the dealership and it says, hey, your tractor's worth X less than it was, this time last year.
Yeah.
And same on the other side, when it starts to go up, you start seeing people at the auction market start looking at the dealer side of the stuff, saying like, well, maybe that's not such a bad deal after all,
Right.
and you start seeing those things play out. And I think we're seeing that now. We've talked about that quite a bit, but back to your point, there's still a ton of uncertainty out there because, just like we talked about, I mean, there's the price of corn fell off 16 cents here since the high of 406 2 weeks ago or something like that. And that was all based around tassel wrap and
Right.
some pollination issues. And the other side of that too is, there's a lot of rain in the forecast, but a lot of the places that are getting rain that's in the forecast have gotten a lot of rain already. So now you start looking at some flash flood issues and those kind of things that come into play. There's just a lot of problems out there.
We had something happen, Casey, and Tyne Morgan was speaking at the Alex Kerr's pre-auction event. Also, Bridget Riedel came down from Fargo with WDAY radio. It was a great night. Alex and Gina do an awesome job putting on these pre-auction events. But they had some local folks there, and they did the pre-dinner prayer. And here we are, late July, and in the prayer, please, Lord, turn off the faucet, please. And it's like, kind of afterwards, we're kind of chuckling, like, I've never heard that before. This time, please turn off the faucet. But corn looked really good down there. Now, tassel wrap issue, a big one. But, yeah, it just is what it is. But I'd really be curious. We've talked about it the rest of the summer, how aggressive dealers will or won't be. Now, maybe interest rates will drop. If the Fed drops that off, maybe that'll give dealers a little more cushion to. And the inventory situation is so much better than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And bottom line, we've seen so much less 1, 2, 3-year-old stuff off the dealer lot hit the auction market. And that has helped the prices kind of find that footing. So now we'll just have to see the rest of the year, through the summer anyway, into the fall, if that holds, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's definitely been a change in the feel of the way things look at. I was talking with someone the other day at the Machinery Pete there. We were going through some stuff, and I was like, the market's definitely changed, and people have realized what the retail marketplace looks like. Because I said, go out and check to see how many $700,000 combines that were on the market this time last year compared to where they are today. And that's, it's like 90% of them are not there anymore. So
it's way better.
Way better.
That's why we see like that merit auction last Wednesday again, whether the red or green side S780 or 8250, and they both, sold, I thought, very well. So a function of less competition out there versus last year. There was an avalanche. They were everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Gabe, that's probably a good place to stop. Folks want to have you come speak at their event. Easiest way to do that, just go to machinerypete.com and hit the contact page. Yep,
contact page, or hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Always fun to get out and visit with people. And and folks, don't forget to come up and visit Casey and I in Rochester Thursday, August 21st for Yield Academy and a crop tour up in Rochester. That's going to be a really fun day. People were asking me about that down in Illinois, Casey. So they'll be waiting for us, I think.
Well, if you want to, it's a unicorn thing because I usually don't get to go to 2 academies and talk. So this will be good. So
you're gonna set the academy on fire, man. We're gonna have fun.
Might be the first and last time I get to go to an academy and talk about something. So.
Not the last, the first of many. It'll be great fun. Crop tour, obviously, with that tassel wrap like you're talking about, it's gonna be really interesting. Yeah. The findings, as always, on the crop tour. Yeah. But then again, great day, Thursday the 21st. Come up and visit us, folks. We'll have fun.
Yep. That crop tour is going to be very interesting because based on what you see on X and Facebook and stuff, when they all looks great from the road and they go out and peel it back, and it's not as good as it looks. So it'll be interesting to see how those play out. But for sure, if you're a dealer and you want to come to the Moving Iron Summit, that's going to be in Austin, Texas. That's September 24th through the 26th. You can find that information on AgWeb under events. You can see that there. So check that out if you're interested. It's a great place to go network and do a lot of good stuff. Greg's been there several times as part of that, and it'll be a good event. So check that out if you're interested in that. So lastly, I think we've covered all the bases here. I think we don't have anything else to promote, do we?
I think we're good. Back to monitoring the market and touch base next week, huh?
Yeah, that's it. All right. So, well, Greg, thanks for being on. We'll catch you again next week.
You bet. Have a great week, Casey.
All right. Stay tuned for more Moving Iron podcast after this.
Farm Journal is going to hold the first ever Yield Academy for 2025. It's going to happen August 21st in Rochester, Minnesota. Listen to this group. Real advice from folks who've walked out in the fields. Ken Ferry, David Hula, Randy Dowdy, and we will get some market outlook from Dan Bossi at Ag Resource as well. Get the latest on what's working in agronomy, equipment, and marketing today. And that is the last day of Crop Tour 2025. So stick around for the final meeting that night in Rochester. Just Google Farm Journal Yield Academy, and that will take you to the homepage for the event.
Well, there they are, mocking you.
See you next year, loser.
That weedy area that's got you thinking, man, I hate that spot. Wish I'd sprayed better. Get the last laugh with a sprayer upgrade from John Deere. Precision upgrades that can increase your sprayer's performance, like ExactApply, advanced nozzles to give you more control at more speeds. It's just one of the many precision upgrades you'll find at johndeere.com. Now, let's see who's laughing.
All right, welcome back to Moving Iron Podcast. Marcus, I got Chip Miller here with Blue Reef Agri-Market. Let's talk about what's happening in the marketplace. Chip, how you doing?
Hey, good, Casey. How you doing?
Doing okay, man. Doing okay. So let's start with corn here a little bit. Talk through it a little while. Last night I think was the low when I looked at it closing at 389. Front month corn's 389 and a quarter, I think, if I remember right. So that's about 17 cents, 16 and a half cents, something like that, off the high that was set a couple weeks ago. And a lot of that had to do with the tassel wrap and those kind of things that we heard about. But slowly that news got filtered out of the system, and here we are now. And look at some of these places that we've seen a lot of rain show up at. They got a good rains when they needed to have them. It just hasn't stopped raining since then. And there's I've read a lot of reports out there about the concern about various fungus and those kind of things with the rain that's out there. But that being said, price of corn hit this bottom and it had bounced up today a little bit. I think 6 or 7 cents today or something like that. Looking at the corn market right now, Chip, what do you think some of the big factors are that are driving the price down right now? And then what's just low prices, the cure for low prices type of thing to get it back to where we saw it come back today?
Yeah, you got a lot of moving parts in there, Casey. At the heart of the matter is the mentality that rain makes grain, and there's been plenty of rain around. In fact, many areas in Illinois that have had 6 to 10 plus inches of rain just in the month of July. Iowa, it's even greater than that, 8 to as much as 15 inches of rain just in July. So about twice of what is normal or more. So in the market's mind, rain makes grain, and that is probably true. It's hard to talk up a case other than, severe flooding, obviously along rivers and creeks. It's hard to talk up a case of too much rain hurting yields in corn. But there are a couple things there. You mentioned, how low is low. The cure for low prices is low prices. We are starting to see a pretty nice uptick in demand in here. Had several days, not for a couple days, but Thursday, Friday last week, Monday of this week, quite a few new flash sales. So our exports are good. Our ethanol numbers are strong. And unfortunately, some of those heaviest areas of rain also brought with it a fair amount of wind. So, you kind of have, this fight going on is how big is big as far as yields go. Are we going to be well above trend line at 181? There's people out there thinking that, we're 183, 185, maybe even 187. But in the same breath, you've had some wind out there, more wind than we've had for a couple of years. That's going to take some yield off of those areas that receive that. Our demand's pretty good. And then you've got this tassel wrap thing I know we talked about a week ago. I think the market's still trying to figure that out too, and just how widespread that is. And, it's really hard to figure out how big of an influence or a yield reduction that might be. So, got some pushing and pulling here. The market actually acted fairly well today, but it may just be a little bit of short covering going into the end of the month. And here the funds had a pretty healthy short position built up in corn already. So interesting market shaping up. On the one camp, you've got this attitude that it's massive yields and we've got a lot lower to go. On the other hand, we have traded a big number, probably well over trend line. At a certain point, we'll have the biggest crop digested. Demand's good. How much do we have to take back off the top because of windstorms and this pollination issue? So it's shaping up to still be an interesting couple of months in here as you get closer to harvest and upcoming Pro Farmer Crop Tour coming out here in about 3 weeks, and that'll be as closely watched as it ever is to maybe get a better feel for really how widespread this pollination issue is out in fields this year.
Yeah. So here you got this cheap corn right now, and you look at the price of cattle and just keeps going up. I don't know how many podcasts you and I done where we think we've hit the top now. We're going to start seeing some backtracking of price, and about the time it starts to backtrack a little bit, it just takes off and runs again. We saw that happen this week again, I guess, Chip. So as you're looking at this, I mean, just keep hanging on, I guess. I don't know what else to say when it comes to cattle market.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, really unprecedented bull market, really, as far as how far we've gone and the length we've been rallying. We're going on 2+ years of a bull run in cattle. As you mentioned, you got several bullish things. First, the cattle on feed report last Friday was wildly bullish, well under most, even the lows as far as placements going on feed. And so that was friendly. We've got the tariff issue on Brazil right now. We import quite a bit of beef from Brazil. Obviously, the Mexican border's closed to feeder cattle. So friendly there. And then you've had corn dropping. So, feeder cattle are, essentially walking corn. The cheaper that corn goes, the more expensive feeder cattle become. And, in the same breath, the cheaper corn becomes, then the cost of gain is cheapening up. So a lot of friendly stuff there bubbling under the surface in cattle, but it's long in the tooth as far as the bull market goes. The other thing, there's always kind of two sides of the story here. We've seen a pretty healthy correction in box beef prices. So, and then there's some rumors out there that packers maybe can't get as good a clearance on some of these cuts of beef as what they have been used to. So, are high prices starting to chew into demand is going to be the question. And that's been the question for, 12+ months is how long can the consumer continue to buy beef the higher that it goes in here? And, maybe this setback in box beef is, maybe some warnings that the consumer's backing off a little bit, but certainly you have all the bullish fundamentals out there that we've had. And, you can argue that they're as bullish as they've ever been. You do start to see some signs, which again is bullish feeders in the short run, some signs with good grass. Some of we mentioned in the corn segment about all this rain around. Well, we've had, some of the best pasture conditions, particularly out into Oklahoma, Kansas, some of those areas that have had multi-year, droughts. They're really getting healed up. And so there is some indications we're starting to retain some heifer. So obviously in the short run, that tightens up the feeder cattle supply even more, but maybe prices are high enough and we're kind of getting far enough past the drought conditions with better hay, better grass conditions than we've had in a long time, that we are maybe starting to slowly rebuild the cattle herd out here. And again, that's not an overnight fix. That takes quite a bit of time, but there are some signs out there we're starting to do that. And eventually, the old saying, we've said it before, they don't ring the bell at the top and let everybody know and give everybody warning. It's only after the fact that you realize it. But the first stage of this is demand destruction. And you can argue that maybe box beef is telling you that maybe that's starting to happen a little bit.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at energy real quick as we go through where you're at. I mean, I sound like a broken record here. We're talking about it, but it's $70 again. And it's bouncing between like 73 and 68 back and forth where you're at. With all of the geopolitical stuff that we've seen and all of the tariff pressures and those kind of things and sanctions against possibly having added sanctions against Russia and those kind of things, you would think that you would see some movement. in the overall global oil supply and that marketplace, and it's just not there. So I guess when you look at that, Chip, what are you thinking right now?
Well, we have seen a little bit of an uptick in crude. To your point, the last couple of days here, you've seen some stronger markets, and that is because President Trump kind of shortened his timeline as far as the line in the sand as far as Russia goes. He moved that up. That's coming quickly. There's a lot of talk that there's going to be a lot of sanctions. There's some hope that China gets behind that. I don't know whether that might be misguided, maybe in my mind, just a little bit, because it seems like China's maybe more of an ally of Russia.
Yeah.
But if there is a world coalition to sanction Russia and not buy their crude oil, then maybe you have an argument that we can push up north of 75 back towards $80. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty there. We kind of got back into the middle of the recent range in here. So they're going to make it hard on everybody trying to predict what, if anything, is going to happen with these Russian sanctions and, what that might mean. And that can be explosive. And always, there seems like this Iran thing is still bubbling under the surface as well. I don't think, probably in our lifetimes, Casey, that's ever going to go away. And that seems like it's just every week or 10 days, there's just, another little story that pops up that says, Iran's not going to go away quietly, and they're going to do everything in their power still to, try to acquire a nuclear weapon if they don't have one already. And, President Trump has said, well, we could go back in there again just as easily as we did it last time. So that's always bubbling under the surface. And, you never know when something, really fires up like that again. That can really put a bid underneath of us. It has breathed some new life into ethanol margins. Soy crush margins are as good as they've been in 10 plus years. I just saw a story today that jet fuel demand is really as strong as it's been in a long, long time. So obviously these new biodiesel plants that we have brought online the last few years, that, if crude oil does keep creeping higher, that's going to be even more added profit to those new plants. So that's a good sign from a demand side on beans, and we kind of need that with this push under $10. We haven't been that low for quite a while. 6-7 months anyway in the bean market. So that directly relates back to the energy markets as well, because without China being there for our big exporter, in a lot of ways, the bean market now is kind of more of an energy market with this biodiesel situation we've got. So to your point, we ought to keep one eye on, the energy markets at all time, because they are very closely correlated to what's happening on the grain side of the equation for sure.
For sure. All right, Chip, good stuff as usual. Folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing over at Blue Reef Ag and Marketing. What's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, just give us a call at the office, 309-550-7213. You can also look us up on our new and improved website. That's www.bluereef.ag.
Right on. Well, Chip, appreciate you being on the podcast. We'll catch you again next time.
All right. Thanks, Casey.
All right. Stay tuned for more Moving Iron podcast after these messages.
Looking for more accuracy, more productivity from your current planter? Let's get exact with precision upgrades from John Deere. Start with Exact Emerge and get accurate singulation and spacing at 10 miles per hour. Or choose Exact Shot to promote early root growth and cut fertilizer costs. And with Furrow Vision, save time by verifying seed depth right from your cab. Visit johndeere.com/planner upgrades and see why nothing runs like a deer.
All right, welcome back to Moving Iron Podcast. Got Aaron Sindel back on to talk about what's happening in the marketplace. Aaron, how you doing today?
Terrific, sir. How are you?
If I was any better, I couldn't stand it. That's how
finer than frog hair, perhaps.
Finer than frog hair. Exactly. So, for those of you that don't know, Aaron has a
shtick.
Well, I'm gonna say a bustling little thing going on the internet here with High Plains Wholesale, and he is the chief entertainment officer, or CEO, if you will, of that. And he has tons of stuff out there, put a lot of different things on the marketplace. And the thing about what he's done is, this time of the year, a lot of people just stick to a certain thing, and typically it's combines this time of the year, right? You got to sell combines, sell combines, sell combines.
And in
You've had your-
between, do a grain cart, an auger, and a header.
Right, exactly. So you've obviously had your share combines on there. You had a pretty cool one on there the other day that you had listed up there, but you've also had planters, air drills, 4-wheel drives. You've had row crop tractors. You've had, run down the list, right? Grain carts, all that stuff. So I think where we're at today, like we've talked about it in here a lot, like where this is a typical buying period for used equipment as people start looking into the fall and also looking into next year's needs, right? And what they might
Pre-harvest ramp up.
That's right. So now this isn't the hardcore buying season that you see in September, October, November, December. It's a little bit different, but this is when things start to get warmed up, right? You're starting to melt the butter a little bit here. Okay. Right. Right. So as you're working your way through it, you see these things happen. So Aaron, you've done this whole portfolio of equipment over the last 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Which platform are you getting traction on right now?
Well, when just a little backstory about what it is, if people hadn't heard. So I've been basically the wholesale guy for 21st Century Equipment, which is a large John Deere dealer in the area. Western Nebraska, Eastern Colorado, Eastern Wyoming. And I've done the wholesale thing there, dealing with out-of-area producers, other dealers, machinery, wholesalers, that kind of thing for 15 years now. And what we decided, as the world has more and more and more and more and more used equipment, kind of what can we do to differentiate ourselves, since we have me in this role. And this is my thing. I don't call anybody local. I don't do anything local, but my realm is not our footprint. It's everywhere else. So I'm also known for being very passionate about farm machinery as a whole. I'm Tractor Geek Supreme and have enough personality that why don't we try this? And me, I was like, I don't know about this. And well, these guys are doing it and these guys are doing it. And it's, well, okay, if they've tried some videos and that kind of thing, let's dig into it. So we do one and it's like, oh, that's it? Well, that's simple enough. And it has legs. So then you do another. And another, and then it's okay, the ball's rolling. Now, what do we do? So we as a company, we've had we have different targeted hot lists and whatever, where
sure
it's something like that. I often broadcast to my contacts, but for our store, our guys at the store in the local area, they have that same thing. And they are typically proactively going out to their customers too. Sure. So what we do, our videos are basically targeted off of that. Now we'll have some other ones. Today, this week, I should say, there'll be a little different one and just a different angle. My thing has always been combines, and Casey and I talk through all the years on podcast of why, because there's no such thing as custom planters and custom diskers and custom field cultivators, but there is custom harvesters. So one guy buys 14 combines, you got to find 14 guys to go buy a combine. It changes the math. So that's kind of why the job started and was the thing for years, as well as we get red stuff, we get yellow stuff, we get silver stuff. Move that out. So that's what the gimmick, the shtick, whatever, my role has always been. And that is also what we are angling with those videos. So it's hot list items, it's off-branded for us items. It might be it might be a fresh trade, but its seasonality is right now, stuff like that. And it's not, if you've watched the videos, I mean, we've got $30,000 box drills up to $450,000 tractors and combines. So it's a little of everything. And we do that on purpose because you put 12 780s on a video and pretty soon they're not being watched, So just it's having a good mix, a relevant mix to what you're doing, For us, we're sugar beet country. We threw a beet digger on there, That's it's not, Casey, you're familiar, but for listeners who aren't, if you're not familiar with a beet digger, it's a half-a-day job to move it 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's very involved. So you kind of got to roll with the punches there. That thing was dirty in the video, and it's got, lamb's quarters and kosher present all around. But the guys buying the beet digger, I feel like they know that. Like,
sure.
Yeah. Okay, go get that 370 and move that onto the rocks another 4 feet, would you?
Yeah.
They get it. Show the parts. Show the beat.
Sure.
On some items, some of the higher dollar late model, how many augers are you going to show on a combine with 400 hours?
Not very many.
Right. They're there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, they just became silver instead of green.
Right.
That's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So those machines is more of a glamour video, more of a talk about other offerings, because that's the other thing. Some of them are, bam, set it down. Here you go, guys. All in. Some of them are, we brought it way down, but we still got programs because this is fed by a deer dealer.
Right.
We didn't buy these on auction. These are trades on new John Deere equipment. And that's kind of a nice little, I think, and I've always felt that doing this for 15 years, it's a drastically, let me back that up a minute. What I think we get to offer in this realm is to the point, no nonsense. Here it is, just what I told you, but that line is out front.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it sure does.
I bought it from that guy over there, and it's just quick and simple. But I know if it goes sideways, that's a dealership.
Right.
Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, it's a different animal than
right.
It's not an auction where you got the 30 30 30, 30
right.
seconds, 30 feet or 30 well, I can't remember what those were. 30 seconds, 30 feet, or I can't remember what 30 was. Someone told me that one time, but it made me laugh, but it's the truth. So I think that's when you look at that, it makes a big difference what you're doing. So as you're doing this, as you're going through all this, and like you said, you don't just have, I watched a lot of these videos where people just have, okay, we're at week 6 of combine week, right? It's
right.
you know what I mean? It's like Shark Week, but for combines.
Right.
And if you're watching that, you don't have that. So that eclectic mix of equipment that you're putting out there, where's the most traction coming from? Where are you getting the most calls from? And what are you getting the most calls on this time of year?
Well, not to pour water on what you just said, but combines.
Yeah, well, that's what I would expect you to say that, but
right.
But,
it's the season,
Yeah.
And because of where we live, the air seeders grain drills getting a lot of traction.
Yeah.
I put a grain drill on there, I think it was Friday, and it's a hell of a nice drill. It's under 50,000.
Yeah.
Key number one. I can almost afford it.
Right.
So
yeah.
Here we go, everybody. Come one, come all.
Yeah.
But a drill like that, and what I don't get a lot of, our producers in our area are going to reach out to the store. Hey, I saw that, your used guy did that video. I'm interested in that. And we've sold half the stuff that way.
Yeah.
It's gone. We sold it. That's the angle.
Yep.
It doesn't have to go to Ohio. It doesn't have to go to California.
Right.
You know, it can go right here to this guy buys from us all the time. It just has to go.
Yeah, exactly. I think too, when you're looking at this time of the year, I think a lot of people in their mind have this, hey, we got to sell combines this time of the year, right? It's when the most people are looking at combines, it's absolutely true, right? You know,
Right.
that's not an accurate statement, but guys are also looking at, I mean, I've sold as many planters post planting season
Yes.
as I would normally do during that normal November, December, January, February timeframe, right? I mean, that July, August, September timeframe, I've sold as many planters during that timeframe as I have up ahead. And same with air drills, right? Air drills right now going into the fall planting season, right? You see a lot of stuff come through like that during that time frame.
To your point, Casey, I sold 5 late model planters in July.
Yeah, exactly, right. And
why? Why? Just what we always talk about. It's used EOP.
Exactly.
If you want your used planter, get it now.
Yeah, and that's when honestly too. That's when you have the biggest influx of inventory coming in that time frame as well. You have some new planters come in. You see some new stuff coming in. You know, it's just like, you know, the new one that they ordered last year is now getting delivered, so they're getting pushed through the space, and now you've got all that stuff right there in front of you. I think the other side of this thing that I really appreciate what you're doing on this is that it gives a you give a good, in 2 minutes, you give a good synopsis of what the machine looks like and what it is. And I think that's the important part of it too, where I watch a lot of these videos where people are walking around it and they're doing their whatever and this, that, and other thing, but truly explaining, hey, this is a spec that you don't see very often on something like this, or this is hey, for 1,100 hours, look how good these augers look on this combine, right? This cross auger on this combine looks really, really good for this many hours, right?
Exactly.
Or hey, look, the unloading auger hasn't hit every telephone pole on the side of the road, right? You know, like that kind of stuff makes a big difference.
Or used as a sword, perhaps.
There you go. Yeah, but those are the things that tell the story in a different fashion that is way more informative than you would see on a typical, you know, video. Like I'm as guilty as anybody else is, where you just kind of walking around with your video camera, just do a big circle, and you're like, you get done, and you really didn't show them anything more than what they could have saw in a picture.
Well, and you know me, we, you know, being BFF and whatnot, and 20 years into this man marriage, you know me well enough that that's me. That's how I'm going to look at it. That's how I'm going to walk on the lot and look at an X9 at Husker Harvest Days.
Yeah,
if they were there.
Yeah,
but that's the tractor geek. That's the part of it that kind of, you know, is the deal. Like I had this is just reporting back things I hear. This is not I'm proud of Aaron type of thing. But a guy I sold a tractor to off of there, he goes, I was entertained and completely informed the whole time. He's like, that was a hoot. He goes, I'm buying a tractor off TikTok. He goes, what the hell? I'm like, welcome to 25.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing about too, on the marketing side of it, is that you have to think broader than what you're doing, right? Because I mean,
it's a mix. Have a mix. Yeah. Every dealer's we all got a yard full of stuff over 400.
Right.
There's a reason. Guys don't want to see 15 videos about that stuff. Throw some affordability in there. You know?
Yep.
I think that's, and you got to mix it up. Like you said, Combine Week, you know, I could have 4-wheel drive week, 8R week, Combine Week, whatever, Chopper Week. We could even have Chopper Week, but it's a mix. And I think seasonality has a little bit to do with it. Obviously, it always will, but it's also kind of, you know, being a used equipment guy for the company, driving all these store lots and stuff, you're always like, how is that not sold? You know? And then, oh, well, the pictures online, that's always the funnest to blame, right? Pictures online aren't very good, blah, blah, blah. Case in point, this Crustbuster drill, there are 4 guys interested in it. We had it a year.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it blows your mind. Focus and wow, look how many guys do this.
Yes, man, that's really what it comes down to. It's highlighting those pieces, right? That's what you have to do. So.
Shining a light where a light needs shined.
Exactly.
But not, and I think the thing that's helping is it's not so dry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes a difference.
We wouldn't have me doing it if we wanted dry, right? But
yeah.
Engaging.
Yeah, that's
at whatever level that is for you, be engaging.
Yep, and I think that's the thing. You know, you're drawing that, you're painting the picture of what it is, and I think that's
for me,
really
between the ears, I'm a 75-year-old dry land farmer, so I know that world. You know,
I thought you're older than that. So there you go. All right, man. That's probably a good place to stop. Folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing. What's the easiest way to do that?
Well, you can find High Plains Wholesale on TikTok, Facebook, and on Twitter under my name. We don't have an actual Twitter page yet. I just share the videos on there, and we go that route. You can call me or text me. That is also on every video, 308-760-1193, or shoot me an email, afintel, AFINTEL, at 21equip.com.
Right on. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and God knows where else, at Moving Iron LLC or Moving Iron Podcast. See you there. If you're interested in coming to Moving Iron Summit, check that out on the Ag Web on their events. You can see all the information. That's September 24th through the 26th. All the information is there as far as sign up and and speakers and all that kind of stuff's all there. It's going to be a good program this year, so make sure you check that out. Going to be at the corn after the Pro Farmer Corn Tour. I'm going to be there at Yield Academy, which is, I mean, the fact that I get to speak someplace with Academy at the end of it is a shocker of its own. So check that out. Me and Greg Peterson will be there. We're going to do this podcast live from there, so you can see it there. So make sure you check that out. That'll be in Rochester, Minnesota, August 21st, if I remember correctly. So check that out. You can also see everything else. So you can email me at ccmoore@farmjournal.com if you have any questions about what's going on here. I'd be happy to get back to you. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour and Aaron Fennell, Greg Machinery, Pete Peterson, and Chip Nellinger. Smoothly Smart folks, out.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. And remember, Moving Iron is available on Farm Journal's YouTube channel and anywhere podcasts are found. So until next time, let's move some iron.